Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a single, incredibly defining moment in cultural history, the year 1981. We're going to see exactly why planet Earth changed 1981. And this wasn't just some slow, gradual evolution, It was a neon-soaked explosion, triggered by one debut song, Duran Duran's Planet Earth. So let's unpack how this one single track completely rewired how we consume music, fashion, and media. To really wrap our heads around this shift, we got to ask ourselves a pretty wild question. What actually connects the gray, anti-fashion austerity of 1970s punk to the glossy, multimedia pop revolution of the 80s? Like, how in the world do we jump from dimly lit UK post-punk clubs to absolute dominance on a brand new network called MTV? Well, the answer basically comes down to architecture, aesthetics, and some serious ambition. Section 1. Out of the punk ashes. So picture the late 70s in Britain. It was culturally pretty bleak. Punk had started out as this fiery, energetic rebellion, but it very quickly devolved into a strict, monochrome austerity. But youth culture absolutely hates standing still. In direct defiance of all that drabness, a brand new scene emerged, one that was heavily inspired by the theatrical glam rock of David Bowie. These kids basically traded in punk minimalism for heavy makeup, historical influences, and this gender-bending sense of romance. Hatmaker Stephen Jones actually summed up London's legendary Blitz Club perfectly. He said, "I'd find people at the Blitz who were possible only in my imagination, but they were real." I mean, this place was a surreal incubator. If you weren't treating your identity as a literal canvas, you simply weren't getting past the door. It was a space that incubated future icons who inherently understood that visual impact was absolutely paramount. Section 2. The Rum Runner Incubator. Okay, so while London had the Blitz, the actual blueprint for global dominance was being drawn up over in Birmingham at a place called the Rum Runner. Brothers Paul and Michael Barrow took a conventional casino, took some heavy inspiration from New York's Studio 54, and transformed the space into this progressive, decadent haven. And it was right here that a young, completely unknown band walked in with a demo tape. The Barrow brothers didn't just casually like Duran Duran's demo, they practically adopted them. To earn their keep and get access to free rehearsal space, the band literally became the club's staff. It's kind of hilarious to picture these future pop gods doing menial labor, right? But keyboardist Nick Rhodes DJ'd, bassist John Taylor bounced at the door, drummer Roger Taylor collected empty glasses, and guitarist Andy Taylor cooked in the kitchen. They were breathing this club's atmosphere every single night. This immersive setup created something entirely unique in pop history. As co-manager Paul Barrow pointed out, all the band had to do, if they ran out of inspiration, was walk down one flight of stairs and boom, they'd find themselves in a club with 400 or 500 people and a massive sound system. It was this immediate sensory feedback loop. They could write a bass line upstairs, walk downstairs, and instantly see what made a packed, fashion-forward dance floor move. It forged a sound engineered entirely to captivate a modern club audience. Section 3. 1981. Planet Earth drops. The escalation from club staff to mega pop stars was shockingly fast. I mean, they were scouted and signed to EMI Records in October 1980. They recorded their debut single, Planet Earth, by December, released it in February 1981, and by March, it had already hit number 12 on the UK charts. Suddenly, these former glass collectors were performing on top of the pops. But here is the really crucial point. Planet Earth wasn't just a catchy synth-pop hook. It was a deliberate cultural manifesto. Right there in the lyrics, Simon Le Bon explicitly sings, like some new romantic looking for the TV sound. By officially naming the subculture and pairing it with this concept of a TV sound, Duran Duran was declaring a brand new era. They were announcing a visual-first approach to pop music, signaling that fashion and the moving image were going to be just as vital as the audio track itself. Oh, and here is a totally wild piece of musical DNA for you. Guitarist Andy Taylor actually revealed that the core of Planet Earth was lifted directly from Rod Stewart's controversial 1978 disco hit, Day You Think I'm Sexy? No way, right? But they used the exact same chords and scale, brilliantly engineering this bridge between traditional rock instrumentation and the super polished modern dance club. Section 4. A total work of art. To truly understand why this changed everything, we're going to borrow a 19th century German aesthetic concept called Gesamtkunstwerk. Coined by composer Richard Wagner, it translates to a total work of art. basically unifying music, drama, and visual design into one completely immersive experience. Now, Wagner applied this to opera. Duran Duran applied it to the 3-minute pop single. They didn't just release a song, they released a whole world you could step right into. And they synthesized these disciplines flawlessly. You had Nick Rhodes painting these massive, immersive audio landscapes on the synthesizer. You had Russell Mulcahy shooting highly exotic music videos on actual 35mm film. Add in the bespoke theatrical fashion by Kahn and Bell and the intentional graphic design by Malcolm McGarrett. It was a completely unified aesthetic front, the whole shebang.
Now, this entire approach was essentially postmodernism in action. Drawing on thinkers like Jean Baudrillard, critics started noticing that these music videos weren't just documenting reality anymore. When the band wore sleek suits on a yacht in Antigua, they were creating a hyper-real simulation. They were playing with symbols of glamour and proving that pop identity could be a synthetic, playful construct in the modern media age.
Section 5. The Second British Invasion. So right around 1982, this fledgling cable channel called MTV started hitting the major US media capitals. But MTV had a massive problem. They desperately needed music videos to fill 24 hours of programming. And most traditional rock bands at the time just stood on a dark stage and played their instruments. Enter the New Romantics. Duran Duran handed MTV exactly what it was desperate for: highly visual, style-conscious, deeply cinematic content. The synergy was just flawless.
And the result of that flawless synergy? Well, to put it into perspective, think about the number 30. By 1983, a staggering 30% of all record sales in the United States were claimed by British acts. It was a literal cultural tsunami, fueled entirely by the visual pop aesthetic birthed in those UK clubs.
The global takeover was just incredibly rapid. You had Spandau Ballet bringing a combined music and fashion show to New York. US radio stations were literally flipping their entire formats to new music. Duran Duran's glossy videos were pretty much single-handedly putting MTV on the map. And it all culminated at the 1985 Live Aid mega concert, where the aesthetics born in those tiny underground clubs finally conquered the biggest global stage in history.
Which brings us to a final thought to leave you with today. When you look at modern pop music, the massive stadium tours that are basically fashion shows, the meticulously crafted visual eras of today's megastars, that seamless blending of sound, style, and cinematic storytelling, you kind of have to ask, are today's pop stars really innovating, or are they still just chasing the multimedia blueprint that was laid down by a single song, Planet Earth, all the way back in 1981? It's a real testament to the lasting, unavoidable legacy of the New Romantics. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep looking for that TV sound.